Okay, and we're back. Okay, sorry about that whole little ordeal. My laptop likes to do this thing where the mouse freezes. Likes to do this thing with anything. So, that's what happened. And it took me way longer to get it set up again than I wanted it to. It should have been usually it's like a 2-minute process and everything gets set up, but nothing wanted to work. So where were we? We were talking about college football, Ashton Genty, all that fun stuff. So, and how he might have been robbed of the Heisman, but they didn't give it to Melvin Gordon in 2014, so I didn't. With that being said, the college football playoff is among us. We got 4 teams that got a bye for this early go-around for the college football playoff. We got number 1, Oregon. Number 2, Georgia. Number 3, Boise State. And we got Oregon, who won the Big Ten. We got Georgia. We got Georgia, who won the SEC. Boise State in the Mountain West, who's going to be joining the Pac-12. And Arizona State in the Big 12. Other teams we got number 5, Texas, facing number 12, Clemson. Winner will face Arizona State. Number 8, Ohio State versus number 9, Tennessee. Winner of that faces Oregon. SMU and number 11, SMU versus number 6, Penn State. Winner of that faces Boise State. And number 10, Indiana versus number 7, Notre Dame. Winner of that will face Georgia. Personally, I think Georgia probably wins the national championship again because it's Georgia. I don't know. We'll see here. Dang, that live stream, that 10 minutes really kind of, I didn't like that. It was not fun. But anyway, so moving on from the college football landscape, we move to the MLB. What was the last Sunday, Juan Soto agreed. Former National Padre and Yankees outfielder Juan Soto agreed to a 15-year, $765 million contract with the New York Mets, the largest deal in MLB history. The Yankees offered a 16-year, $760 million deal, but for him to stay in the Bronx. However, it seems like the issue between Juan Soto and the Yankees was the Yankees were not willing to give Juan Soto his own private suite for free where he could have family and friends. Whereas the Mets gave him all these different perks and stuff. Hal Steinbrenner, the Yankees owner's logic for that is even Derek Jeter, who's probably the greatest Yankee probably since Roger Maris played and Joe DiMaggio and Mickey Mantle played. And they decided, and he has to pay for his own suite. Aaron Judge, who signed a contract extension with the Yankees, I think it was heading into 2023. He also has to pay for his own private suite. Because for Aaron Judge, compared to Juan Soto, I think for Aaron Judge, it was more about, hey, I love being in the Bronx area of New York. I love this team. I love these fans. And Juan Soto, on the other hand, seemed like, obviously, there's underlying things that may have happened between the Yankees and Soto that we didn't know about. However, Juan Soto, when he did his introductory press conference with the Mets, said he hasn't contacted any of his former Yankee teammates. That's because he changed his number, supposedly. So Juan Soto kind of almost was painting the Yankees teammates as the bad guys. But when that came out that he changed his number, it makes you wonder. the Yankees the bad guys or Soto the bad guys? Don't get me wrong. I'm always for players getting the most money possible. In certain instances. I mean, this is me personally. If I had to go based on recent success, I probably would have taken the $5 million less to stay with the Yankees. Because, yes, $765 million is a lot. But $760 million, which is $4.5 million less than you would have got from the Mets, but you would have secured a future in the Bronx, surrounded, mind you, not saying the Mets don't have talent, but the Yankees had the one thing the Mets don't. Great pitching. Yankees brought in Max Fried on an 8-year, $218 million contract last week. They acquired Devin Williams in a trade with the Milwaukee Brewers. We'll get into that. So the fact that Soto, whereas the Mets are still trying to figure out their rotation, because right now, as things stand, I think their ace is probably Kodai Senga. Then you got Senga, Peterson, Montes. They're trying Clay Holmes as a starter. And what, David Peterson? That's not a great starting five if you ask me. I mean, I'm not an MLB expert. I'm not a general manager or a manager. So, I can't really make that judgment. I'm just going based on how it sounds. And in other MLB news, as I was just talking about, the New York Yankees made a shocking move. They not a shocking move, but they made a move. But the fact that they were the final suitors, they wound up acquiring all-star closer Devin Williams from the Milwaukee Brewers in exchange for Nestor Cortez and Caleb Durbin. Now, Yankees needed a closer with Clay Holmes leaving for the Mets, because it seems like everyone wants to leave for the Mets now. For whatever reason. So to go in, they get Devin Williams, probably one of the. You can make an argument him or Emmanuel Clase being the best closers in the sport of baseball. A guy who is heading into a contract year. His nasty airbender changeup. So Yankees, they already have Luke Weaver in that bullpen. They have solid bullpen arms, but Devin Williams secures it for them, gives them a big boost in the bullpen, because you aren't just getting any closer. You're getting Devin Williams. The only problem is how will Devin Williams rebound? We all saw what happened in the wild card game. Game 3 of the wild card. He came in, gave up a 3-run homer to Pete Alonso, which that was ultimately what sent the Mets to their miracle run all the way to the NLCS. It pains me to even think about that, because, well, you know why. If you know why, assuming by what I'm wearing now. But on the Brewers side of things, Brewers get Nestor Cortez Jr., a guy who has dealt with injuries the last 2 seasons, but his last 2 full seasons, he's been healthy. 2021 and 2022 with the Yankees, he was absolutely phenomenal. He was an all-star in 2022. He has a nice 4-seam. He has a nice 5-pitch arsenal. Cutter, slider, changeup, curveball, and his 4-seam fastball. The Brewer, he speaks Brewers picture, because his cutter, Brewers love pitchers that don't have the highest spin rate on those cutters. Those cutter or slider pitches. Those are things the Brewers mold that the Brewers have been has one too. Corbin Burns wound up becoming a Cy Young pitcher. I think Cortez will do wonders, because the Brewers have probably one of the best pitching development systems in the entire major leagues. The changeup too, like I said, Brewers love players with the changeup and all that, and Cortez fills out the rotation, I feel like, because, Freddie Peralta's back. They got Brandon Woodruff coming off injury. So that's your 1 and 2 pile, unless they throw Nestor number 2. They got Aaron Savale, who they acquired last June from the Rays, who was pretty decent in his Brewers run. That 5th spot, Tobias Myers, had a phenomenal year. Shout out to Tobias Myers. He got his own feature on People Magazine after he got married over the week. He got married, so congrats to him on getting his People feature. I just had to throw that out there. Myers also was the one who started that Game 3 of the wild card series. Brewers also got prospect Caleb Durbin, who he played baseball at Washington. He spent 2024 in AAA and Single A for the Yankees. He also played in the Arizona Fall League. He was absolutely phenomenal when he played there. I think he had like a 876 OPS or something. He had 29 stolen bases in AAA. He had a 287, 396, 471 slash line. And he speaks Brewer. Brewers love their speedy, great defensive players. They love guys who can walk more than they strike out. Obviously the stolen bases. And they like the utility guys, so we'll see how he fits to this Brewers squad that's trying to figure out their identity. They also lost Willie Adames to the Giants. He signed a 7-year, $182 million contract. See if the Brewers actually open payroll, continue to add to their team. The Brewers feel like one of those teams where they're like probably like 2 bats away from like really hitting it, and maybe adding another bullpen arm. But their bullpen did fine last year without Devin Williams. Should be fine again, assuming everyone steps up the way they did. So it's kind of that going on. So we go on. NBA is in the middle of their in-season tournament cup. The Bucks beat the Hawks the other day, 110 to 102, to move on to the finals. They will face the Oklahoma City Thunder tomorrow night in Las Vegas. See who will win the second ever in-season tournament Emirates Cup or whatever they're calling it this year. So, props to the Bucks. The Bucks started 3-9, or 3-8, and since then have been killing it. They've been really good as of late. They went on a 7-game winning streak, and they currently stand at 14-11, and they are 6th in their conference, which is big from where they were at the beginning. Of the season. Right now, if the season ended, they would be playing the Knicks in the playoffs. So there's that going on. NFL, a lot of crazy action this week happened. Per usual. Started with probably one of the most boring Thursday night games of all time. Maybe one of the most boring football games of all time. Not the most boring, because that happened last year when the Vikings, I think, won a game against the Raiders 3-0, and they didn't kick the field goal till the end of the game. But yeah, Rams come in. They beat the 49ers 12-6. And the highlight of that game wasn't the game itself. It was 49ers linebacker Devondre Campbell. So, about halfway through the third quarter, I think it was, San Francisco 49ers linebacker Dre Greenlaw, who just returned from a torn Achilles that he suffered in the Super Bowl loss to the Chiefs, had just made his return, and he got hurt again. And Campbell didn't play in the first half because of that. Greenlaw and backup linebacker D. Winters both got hurt in that game. The 49ers asked Devondre Campbell to go into the game, but he refused to do so. It was asked about at the end of the game, Kyle Shanahan was asked about walked away, why he just walked out, because he didn't look injured. Didn't look like anything happened, and apparently, Kyle Shanahan said he said he didn't want to play today. Said he didn't want to play today. He said it in the third quarter or something that when he was asked, he didn't feel like playing today, which let me just say is a bad look if you're an NFL player, because you're paid. You are paid. They signed him to a 1-year deal. They paid him a lot of money. They paid him to go out and play. Mind you, when he filled in for Dre Greenlaw as a starter, league, because he was just horrible. But that doesn't give you an excuse to just walk out on your team in the middle of the game. I don't know if he was going through something mentally or what. But that's something you don't do, because. But he did that. He did that stuff because he got all petty when the Packers cut him in March, talking about how he was heavily misused, and San Fran took a chance on him, and he does this. And he got called out by several of his teammates. Played with anyone like that. He doesn't want to play with anyone like that again. Charvarius Ward has already had a rough year. With his infant daughter who passed away back in October, so he took a few weeks off. That's a valid reason why to not play. Charvarius Ward was actually dealing with a real life personal matter, and the fact that he went to speak about this thing, pretty much saying it's a bad look for and same with Trent Williams. Trent Williams not only has been hurt, but he's also dealing with the loss of an infant child. But he's trying to play. Fred Warner, the 49ers other star linebacker, he's been playing with a bad ankle the entire year, and he still is playing. And you just want to quit on your team by saying, I don't feel like playing today? That's really not a smart look. It's not a good look for yourself. Media criticize him, coach criticize him, teammates, which is 100% fair. Unless you're hurt or have a personal matter, like Trent Williams, Charvarius Ward, etc., you're paid to play. Unless also you're a backup quarterback and you're not probably going to play. But then you should play. If you didn't feel like playing, you should have said something to the staff before the game, been like, hey, I'm going through something. I just don't feel like playing today. And boom, they deactivate you. Perfect. But to walk out in the middle of the game and to say, hey, I don't feel like playing today, you got to do better than that. If you're going to do that, lie. I'm not saying you should do that. This is by no means condoning you to say that. But if you're going to do that, at least lie. Say you injured something. Say you have a headache or something. Say there was an emergency. But to just walk out on your team just because you didn't feel a bad look. 49ers did say, it was announced that Campbell's going to be suspended for the remainder of the season by the team. The reason for not releasing him is because they don't want another team to start him and reward him for his actions. Which is fair. Because you don't want to cut him, and then let's say a team that needs him signs him, and they're like, hey, we're going to start you. Yes, you quit on your team, but we're going to sign you. So, just wanted to get that out of it. Just wanted to get that off my mind. Anyways, Rams won that, moved on to 8-6. San Francisco's season probably ends, and moved to 6-8 on the year. Dallas defeated Carolina 30-14. That game was not a fun one to watch. It was kind of close. The Cowboys tried a 70-yard field goal with Brandon Aubrey. Devin Tompkins returned that 30 yards. Honestly, I thought he was going to go all the way. But Carolina moves to 3-11. Dallas moves to 6-8. Still alive, but their season's probably done. Carolina, gotta give props to Carolina though. They might be good next year. I don't think they'll be playoff ready because they're in a division with Tampa Bay and Atlanta. But if Carolina adds a few pieces, especially on if they give Bryce Young some true receivers and they start building their defense, they could be really good next year. Because Bryce Young, since he came back from his benching in week 5 or 6, he's been phenomenal. Well, not phenomenal, but he's been good. Chiefs came in, defeated the Browns. Chiefs went to Cleveland, defeated the Browns 21-7. Patrick Mahomes suffered a mild high ankle sprain. He's week to week. He did try to re-enter himself into the ball game, but by then it was pretty much game over. Chiefs already have a playoff spot clinched. They're 13-1. Who knows if they sit Mahomes or not? No one knows from there. Cleveland moves to 3-11. They had a crucial fumble. Early in the a crucial muff punt early in the game, which pretty much doomed them from the start. Jameis Winston didn't play very good at all. Yeah. Then Miami and Houston. Houston won 20-12 to South. Just want to give my prayers out to Grant Dubose. He was a Miami wide receiver. Was going to get more playing time when the Dolphins released veteran Odell Beckham Jr. He got hit in the head by a Texans defender and was out on the field for a while. They had to cut his jersey. They had him on oxygen. They were stretching him out. Took like 15 minutes. That's a scary situation. You never want to see that. You never want to see that happen to anybody. So it was just scary. Prayers up. I heard he was in stable condition and he's recovering in the hospital. So that's good. So that's good that he, stable and he's expected to be fine. But that's just a scary situation regardless. You never want to put yourself in that. Jets defeated the Jaguars 32-25. Jets did not have a good first half. Or more specifically, Devontae Adams did. Devontae Adams had 0 receiving yards, and Devontae Adams had 198 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns from Aaron Rodgers, including his 100th touchdown reception. Which, congratulations to him. Devontae Adams also had 135 of those receiving yards in the last 4 minutes of the game. Jets might have had a spark, but it's too little too late. They're eliminated from the playoffs. Aaron Rodgers looked sharp. Aaron Rodgers looked really good for the Jets. Garrett Wilson was a bit frustrated. There's been rumors that he might request a trade in the offseason. We'll see what happens. We'll keep an eye on that Garrett Wilson Jet saga. Jacksonville 3-11. Not much more to say about Jacksonville. Washington barely beats New Orleans 20-19. Jake Haener was awful. He got benched for Spencer Rattler, who led the Saints almost to a comeback. Marshawn Lattimore played against his old team. Washington moves to 9-5, and they have the 7th seed in the playoffs still. Saints move to 5-9. Lamar Jackson throws 5 touchdown passes as the Ravens decimate the Giants. Tommy DeVito was starting because Drew Lock had a heel injury. Tommy DeVito got benched for Tim Boyle. That's the silence because Tim Boyle is not a very good quarter because Tim Boyle was absolutely atrocious. Mind you, they weren't winning anything anyways, but Tim Boyle, the whole giant. There was a banner that flew over the stadium like 2 weeks ago that said that told their owner to fire everybody. Flew by again, and it's just madness in New York. I'm expecting they clean house. They fire everybody. Shane's gone. Dable's gone. I'm expecting they just clean house and go from there. Joe Burrow and the Bengals beat the Titans, trying to keep their season alive. I don't know if it's going to work, but see what happens. It's probably the smart decision there. Arizona defeated New England 30-17. I didn't care to read anything about this game. All I know is Trey McBride has had 89 receptions this year and has had 0 touchdowns, which is an NFL record. Denver came in and destroyed the Indianapolis Colts 31-13. Denver Denver plays the Chargers on Thursday Night Football in a win-and-in situation for Denver. Indianapolis, because of that loss, Texans clinch the division. Colts made a lot of questionable decisions. Jonathan Taylor would have had a touchdown, but he dropped the ball before it crossed the plane. They tried a trick play where Richardson threw a screen to Adonai Mitchell, who threw the ball, who was going to throw it back, and linebacker Nick Bonito took it to the house. And that's the last I'm going to talk about that game because I don't want to go any further. It comes into Detroit and beats Detroit Josh Allen with another phenomenal game. Detroit suffered more injury woes. Aleem McNeil tore his ACL. He's out for the year. David Montgomery tore his MCL, and he's out indefinitely. Those are two huge losses for an already injured Lions team. We'll see if that hinders them or not. Knuckles of Sonic and Knuckles is hurt, so Detroit moves to 12-2 with Minnesota playing tonight and right on their tails. Tampa Bay obliterated the Chargers. I know Justin Herbert threw an interception. Mike Evans played great. Baker Mayfield looked good. Bucky Irving, per usual. Eagles defeated the Steelers in the Pennsylvania Bowl. Hurts looked sharp. A.J. Brown had a phenomenal game. The Sunday night matchup. The Sunday night matchup that we all saw. Green Bay came to Seattle. A lot of Packer fans in Seattle. Like, the 12th man wasn't very effective. Packers went into Seattle and completely obliterated the Seahawks. 7 sacks, 2 interceptions for the Packers defense. 2 touchdown passes from Jordan Love. Josh Jacobs had another touchdown of his own. Romeo Doubs had the 2 touchdowns in his return. Edwin Cooper had a phenomenal game for the Packers. Packers moved to 10-4 as they head back home to play the Saints next week on Monday Night Football in a win-and-in situation. Seattle moves to 8-6. They're currently out of the playoff race, and the Rams have the division right now because of that win. The Packers win clinched the Vikings the playoff down in that game. Looked like they said knee injury. He got halfway through the third quarter. Sam Howell finished away. Sam Howell was not very good at all. Tonight we got two, I wouldn't say fun matchups. These are just matchups that are there. The Bears head to Minneapolis to play the Vikings. The Bears really aren't playing for much in this game. They're just trying to play to make sure the Vikings don't get the 5th seed. Almost got all divisional games the rest of the way because they play Detroit next week. I think they play somebody else. And then they play Green Bay. Bears 4-9 can't make the playoffs anymore. They got eliminated. They're the only team in their division that's going to wind up with a losing record. Meanwhile, the Vikings are trying to move to 12-2 and trying to ease that gap between them and Detroit. Sam Darnold playing great football. That's going to probably be the Monday Night Football game that everybody watches. The game that nobody's going to watch is the 6-7 Atlanta Falcons heading to Las Vegas to play the 2-11 Raiders. Kirk Cousins hasn't been good. Don't think he's thrown a touchdown pass in a month. In fact, he's thrown, 0 touchdowns, 8 interceptions in his last 3 or 4 games. Which is absolutely atrocious. Especially for his revenge game last week against Minnesota. Where he threw for 344 yards, but he did throw a single touchdown pass. And threw 2 interceptions. So Atlanta needs to figure out what they're doing with their loss. They're on a 4-game losing streak. The Buccaneers are widening their gap in the division race. Atlanta needs to win this to stay in. As for the Raiders, well, Desmond Ridder is starting tonight with Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell both on IR. former Falcons quarterback, Desmond Ridder, will get the start. Max Crosby's out for the year. He's going to have a surgery that'll end the season. It's probably for the best anyways, because, well, Raiders aren't good, and, well, Max Crosby sitting out might be for the best. But, yeah, overall, I think that pretty much was covering everything I was going to go over. Sorry I didn't do it last week again. Like I said, I worked, I had class, I didn't really have time to squeeze it in, considering I like to do this more in the mid-afternoon. With the time I got, though, on Mondays for now, I might do this time, or again, 12:30 start time, probably. Might move it a little earlier, I don't know, it depends, but thank you guys for tuning in. I've had a lot of fun doing this podcast so far, or, well, live stream podcast, call it what you want, but it's been really, really fun. Hope you guys have a safe trip into the next one. Peace.